Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this video I wanted to just do another kind of bloggy channel message type post because I thought with all the stuff that I managed to do in Asia this time, I thought it was a good time to do another one of these little posts and just kind of let you know some thoughts on the Asian craft beer scene and just kind of what's going on with me generally as well. So in Asia I had a really good time. You know, Hong Kong was awesome. I was really surprised and kind of blown away a little bit by how kind of good the craft beer scene is there. I mean, as I told you in some of the videos that I did, they only really liberalised their laws there around 2014, 2015, and over the last kind of 4 or 5 years, it's just boomed. I mean, there's so many good craft beer bars. You know, we went to this place, Xiangmen Brewery, which turned out later on to be a Taiwanese brewery, in fact, although I thought they were from Hong Kong. But you've got so many good breweries there, Heroes Beer Company, Yardley Brothers, Carbon Brews, Moonzen. You know, you've got some really good breweries in Hong Kong, a lot of good craft beer bars, and it's really great to see just the Hong Kong craft beer scene booming a little bit. So if you go to Hong Kong, it's definitely worth it just for the place generally, but you've also got some very good craft beer there, and they're bottling their beers and canning them as well, which is great. After that we went to Japan and went round Kyushu a little bit. I discovered a good few craft breweries that I didn't know, and it seems that the Japanese beer scene is kind of moving on a little bit as well. I mean, it was always very strong there. There was a few very good breweries such as Fujizakura, Shiga Kogen, the Tamura Honten beers, you know, Hitachi no Nest. There was some, and Mino beer from Osaka as well. There's some really good quality craft beers in Japan. As I've always complained about though, the problem in Japan is just the distribution. A lot of these beers won't make it outside of their own prefecture. It's the same with the sakes, but the Japanese at the same time, it's good because they really do value the kind of locality of their products, if you like. So you'll see the same with a lot of the sakes that I've been reviewing on the channel for you as well, and I did manage to film a good number of sake videos for you when I was over there this time as well, so of course you'll see those appear over the next little while as well. But yeah, there's more beer bars popping up in Japan. There's some really good craft beer in Kyushu as well. You'll see me review a few of those. Unfortunately, I lost 2 beers that I picked up in Hiroshima because I forgot they were in my backpack, so I donated them to the guy at the security, and he took them home and drank them, as far as I know. Korea was really interesting as well. I mean, the quality of the beer in South Korea was really good. Korea was a really interesting beer scene too. There wasn't really that many bottle shops. I mean, I found 2 really pretty good ones, and that of course was Josie's Bottle Shop, the Guillaume beer shop in Hyokji on Jeju. She had a ridiculous selection of like Danish beers and American things. Quite a lot of the American stuff I hadn't seen before because it was West Coast, but it was kind of similar to what I was finding at Koji's shop in Osaka in Japan. But there was also Wuri Super up in Seoul as well, but they were in the process of moving when I visited them, so they didn't have all their full kind of thing. The thing that was a bit disappointing about the bottle shops in Korea though was that they didn't have more Korean beers. The reason for that is that a lot of the breweries at the moment are just kind of kegging their beers, and that's what I found a little bit strange, because Hong Kong's beer scene is a little bit newer, but they've kind of really moved into that, you know, kegging, canning, bottling their beers. But South Korea still seems to be at the stage where you actually have to go to the breweries to pick up the beers. But there's some really good there's some very high quality beer there. I mean, in Busan was a cracking craft beer city. You had Galmegi, you had Wild Wave, you had a few others around there as well. Guerrilla Brewing Company I was also very impressed with. In Seoul you had the Table Beer Company were really good. They had a very good variety of different styles. Magpie, of course, are another brewery who are doing some very interesting stuff. The thing that is a little bit frustrating, as I say, about the Korean beer scene though, is that the beer quality is very good, but they don't seem to have moved on to bottling and canning their beers fully yet. So hopefully when I go back in the next year or two to Korea, which, so I definitely will be going back. I only really saw Jeju, Seoul and Busan. I'd like to see more of the other kind of places around the country because it's supposed to be really beautiful. But hopefully when I get back there in the next year or two, there are more bottles and cans of beer as well, and you will of course be seeing me review those more on the channel over the next little while too. And that kind of explains the reason why there isn't many of the Korean beers making it over to Japan and to Hong Kong and things in the export market. So I think it'll be a little while before you see any Korean beers on the export market, unfortunately. Taiwan as well. From what I gather, from what the people in Hong Kong were telling me, and when I did a little bit of research, I was in Taiwan back in 2014, and there was only 2 breweries at that time. There was the Blade d'Or and Gordon Biersch. But from what I gather now, there is about 15 or so little craft breweries around Taiwan, and quite a few of them are bottling and canning their beers and stuff like that as well. So I do need to get back to Taipei at some point and try and get hold of a few more of those Taiwanese beers for you and review those for you on the channel. Taiwan, incidentally, it's a beautiful, beautiful country, and I highly recommend that you go and check that out. From what I understand, the people in Hong Kong were telling me that in mainland China, they're still at the kind of same stage as Korea. They're kegging a lot of their beers. My friend Hung Wei as well, he brought a few Chinese beer cans back for me. You've still got to publish one of those videos, but from what I understand, the Chinese beer scene is still in that case where it's kegging the beer, and you actually have to go to the pubs to drink it from source rather than being able to buy the cans and the bottles and things like that. Macau really did not have very much at all. I mean, there was a few beer bars and things like that, but of course it was only foreign beer. There wasn't actually a proper Macanese craft brewery, so maybe that's something. That would be an interesting kind of phase to enter, if you like. It would be cool to go in there as a foreigner and start up your own craft brewery, but then again, the Chinese regulations can be a little bit odd, if you like, and with all the stuff that's going on in Hong Kong recently with the protests and stuff like that and the crackdown from the Beijing government, maybe that's not such a good idea. But it's an interesting point. We won't get too much into the politics of Hong Kong, Taiwan and Macau just now, but it was really cool to go over to Asia and just see the craft beer scene growing once again. The one thing I would say to anyone that's going over to Asia to drink, to look at the craft beer bars, just be aware that you will pay a little bit more for beer over there. The main reason for that is just that a lot of the stuff that they have to bring in to make it is imported. I mean, Japan does have some of their own hops. I think there are 1 or 2 of the breweries in Korea that actually have their own hops as well, but for the most part the malts and the hops are imported over there. And a lot of the tax system in Japan, at least, the tax system for beer is based on the malt content, and of course you can buy sake for cheaper than beer that's higher in alcohol content, which really makes no sense, to be honest. But when you consider the all of these things are imported, you can understand a little bit why beer is more expensive in Asia. So just be aware of that when you go over to Asia, you will be paying sort of Scandinavian level prices for craft beer and things like that. The prices in Hong Kong and Japan and Korea, Korea is a little bit cheaper, of course, because their currency isn't quite as strong, but when you go to Hong Kong and Japan, you will pay sort of Denmark, Sweden level prices for your craft beers. So yeah, that was just an interesting thought on the Far Eastern beer scene. I've been gathering that there's quite a few interesting things going on in Thailand and the Philippines and Singapore and stuff like that as well. I think my next Asia trip that I'll go on will probably be to Singapore and the Philippines. I mean, I've been hearing a hell of a lot about the Philippines recently. I've got a good friend who goes down there from Japan quite often, so I maybe need to join him on one of his trips, and I'm very, very keen to look at Singapore as well. So probably my next Asia travel will be to that sort of part. The other possibility, of course, could be to go to mainland China as well, but we'll just need to see how things work out with that. My travel plans over the next little while, I'm going to go to Scotland for 2-3 weeks, because I haven't been back to Scotland in over a year now, actually, so I need to go back there and see my friends and do a couple of things over there. My friend also was talking about going to Budapest, so it'd be cool to check out the beer scene there. I know there's some really good Hungarian craft beer, so maybe you'll see that. Ukraine is still in my is still taken away in the back of my mind too, because I wasn't able to go there earlier on in the year. So I'm still looking at Ukraine. Possibly when I go to Ukraine, I'll maybe cross into Poland as well, but I do want to focus on Ukraine a little bit. And at Christmas time, I will be going back to Japan as well, of course, to see my little one being born. Incidentally, we found out that we are going to have a son, so we've picked a name out and things like that. And a special mention to one of my students that I used to teach, because she asked me if I was having a boy or a cat. So I'm having a boy, Astrid. I'm not having a cat, and I'm glad that I'm not having a cat. I'm a dog man. But anyway, so some exciting times coming up for me over the next little while. My career change is going quite well, so we'll I'll keep you updated with that on the next little while. I'm enjoying the stuff that I'm doing just now, and I'll reveal what that is a little bit later on. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed another little bloggy post. I do have one more video from the Asian mini-series that I did for you over the summer. You'll see that publish in about 12 hours time after this video, and after that you'll be seeing more Swedish, Danish and other kind of European and American reviews. We'll be back to the normal stuff after that. I am keeping in mind that you guys wanted some kind of top 10 beers and things like that, some history of beer styles and stuff like that, so we'll see about producing those over the next couple of months and the next year and things like that. But I hope you continue to enjoy the videos, and I thank you for your support, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the Asian mini-series that I've filmed for you over the last 2 months or so. But we'll leave it at that just now. Thank you again for watching. I hope that your support of the channel continues, and I thank you dearly for all the support you've shown the channel so far. So Slange in Skull, Kampai, Gombe, Gambi.